there was a huge water scandal about to break. Fecal matter was found in the water, and I think we can all agree that clean water is a basic need that
everybody needs.
All people deserve to have.
Animals, everybody.
I started to hear little bits of information as to what took place, and not only was there fecal matter in the water, residents were not notified in a timely manner. So the first thing that went through my head was, we're talking about government, people that are supposed to ensure the safety and well-being of their constituents, and our residents are not even notified in a timely manner. So the big initiative that I ran on, first and foremost, was transparency. If you can't be transparent and you can't be truthful with your residents, I think everything else will fall on deaf ears.
Facts. Yo, this is Juwan, and this is CYON, and this is an outlet for entrepreneurs to tell your story, to get in the know, to relieve your stress, to create your own narrative. Yo, it's Create Your Own Narrative, man. CYON. We here with another exclusive interview. I got Leroy Kelson in the building. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, brother. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate this. This is long overdue, bro. This is a man who has been doing multiple things in the city, multiple works, from the Grow Lit program to running for District 2 last year, for doing multiple things for yourself. How you feel, brother?
Man, I feel great, man. I first want to take some time to thank you for allowing me to come on to your space.
It,
I've been following you all for a while. I'm very proud of the work that you've been doing. So thank you so much for sharing this space with me.
And shout out to Leroy, because he's been following us from the beginning to the end. And it's not like he was one of the persons who want to come on later on. He been trying to get in here from the beginning.
Yep.
It just time was missing, bro. Tell the people a little bit about yourself, where you from, how you was raised, a little bit of background about yourself.
Okay, so born right here in Palm Beach County, Riviera Beach to be specific. My mother became pregnant with me at 15 years old, gave birth to me at 16 years old. I love her dearly. She has played a very integral role in my life and in a lot of my accomplishments. I went to middle school at Roosevelt Middle School, class of 2007. So shout out to all my devils.
I can't give you that one.
Where did you go?
I went to Great Lakes, man. I can't give you that. I was our rivals back then.
Shout out to the devils, class of 2007. High school. I went to high school up at William T. Dwyer High School.
Shout out to Dwyer.
Shout out to all my Dwyer Panthers, class of 2011. One of my fondest memories in high school was winning the state championship.
Yeah, we won a
state championship in 2010. Well, what high school did you go to?
Inlet Grove. I went to Palm Beach Gardens, then Inlet Grove.
What year did you graduate?
2012.
2012. Okay, so you're not too far behind me. But as I was saying, that's one of my most fondest memories, man. If you remember, I don't know if you followed the football landscape at that time. We were loaded, man. I have to shout my guys out, man. I mean, we had 5 guys on that team play professional football, and I believe we sent 10 plus guys to Division 1. So I mean guys like Jacoby Brissett, Matt Elam, Gerald Christian, Robert Clark, Daryl Hunter, Tommy Lee Lewis, Nick O'Leary, Kurt Majid. I'm missing some. Keith Bowers.
A lot.
They were lot. But man, we were loaded, man. So I definitely want to shout those guys out, because I think that's when I built a competitive edge. That's when I learned what hard work meant. That's what I meant. That's when I learned what it meant to fall down and get back up. When I was going to practice every day and competing with guys at that level, it definitely developed some important skill sets in me.
And you played linebacker, right?
I played linebacker at Dwyer.
Look, when he came in the door, I said, damn, he hit hard.
Yeah. Then I went on to the University of Louisville. Walked on and played football there for 2 years. Ended up transferring to Florida Atlantic University and received my bachelor's degree in public management. Then when I finished my undergraduate studies, I moved out to California and attended the University of San Francisco, where I received a master's degree. While I was out in California, that's when I started substitute teaching. And I think that's when I found my love for mentorship and helping young people cultivate different pathways. After I finished up my graduate studies in San Francisco, California, I then moved back to Palm Beach County and started working for Charter Schools USA. Basically, that's the company that oversees the Renaissance charter schools.
Okay,
so
yeah,
I worked,
Renaissance right there.
Yep.
Yeah, Renaissance is right there.
Yep. So I worked at Renaissance Charter School at Summit for about 3 years, served there as an administrator. Then I believe in 2021, I transferred over to the school district of Palm Beach County, and now I serve as an administrator there.
I love that about yourself, bro, because you always speak on pouring into the youth.
Yes.
Pouring into things like that. Is that how you was raised? Is that something that you picked up on? How'd that go?
That's how I was raised. Public service is something that has always been important in my life. My grandfather is a U.S. Navy veteran.
Okay.
He also retired from the utility district in Riviera Beach. My grandmother retired from Bell South. She now operates a food bank that feeds over 300 families bi-weekly.
I love that.
So my mom is very involved in the community. So my upbringing kind of instilled that need for public service and instilled that skill in me where I needed to give back. In my home, it didn't matter how successful you were as an individual. What mattered was how many times you reach back to grab someone and bring them with you. So that's kind of how I was raised, and that's something that has carried over into my adult life.
And I feel like that pours in within your community, bro, because say for example, somebody like myself, if I had any questions, anything I want to know, there's somebody who I can reach out to. He's going to be able to give game from the politician side and also from the inner city side. So he's going to be able to help me mediate what I need to do.
Definitely.
We're going to have a little segment we call this the hot seat.
Okay.
You feel me? Just random questions, you know, things about yourself that we want the people to know. Okay. Now, just give me 60 seconds real quick, my brother.
You ready?
Biggest pet peeve?
Smacking. I don't like when people smack on gum.
I don't blame you. One place you must travel.
One place I must travel. I would love to go to Asia.
Asia.
Yes.
One of your biggest accomplishments this far.
One of my biggest accomplishments this far. That's a good one. Biggest accomplishment this far. I think founding the Grow Live Project.
Yeah.
I think anytime I have an opportunity to develop or be a part of initiatives that impact the community, that's a big accomplishment for me.
2 things on your bucket list.
2 things on my bucket list. Traveling to Asia is one.
Yeah, I like that. I need to do that too.
That is one thing on my bucket list. I definitely want to get my physical endurance to the point where I can run a marathon.
And one place you think that you can make an impact in the world that's not West Palm Beach?
One place that I can make an impact in the world.
Or you will want to?
I would probably say Georgia. I have family. A lot of my family originated in Georgia. So I would love to go back and have an impact in a community where my family roots began in this country.
And I love that. And you also when you speak about your family roots, you talked about the inner city and things that you've been through to be able to get to this point. At this age, how old are you?
I'm 32 years old.
32?
Yes.
Politician. You're the first 32-year-old politician I've ever met in my life.
Well, I'll say this. I'll say, not to cut you off, I'll say I'm just a concerned citizen.
Okay. I like that.
Constituent that engages civically.
And wants to change.
Yeah, exactly. I've never held office before, so I wouldn't consider me a politician.
Okay.
But I would say that I'm someone who's very, very concerned about the uplift of the communities that I live in, and that's something that we all should strive to do.
Exactly. And with Palm Beach itself, what's some things in the city that you want to see improve? What's some things that you want to pour into?
One thing that I would like to see improve is maybe affordable housing. That's an issue in our city. That's an issue in our state. That's an issue in our country. You have this situation where mortgages and rents are skyrocketing through the roof, but wages have kind of been consistent for 20, 30 years.
Facts.
So I would love to see more done in that area. I know that our county officials and our legislators are doing everything in their power to fix it, but I definitely think affordable housing is something that I would like to see improved in our county and in our state and in our country.
Yeah, agreed. And with our youth, you feel me? I think back in the day when we was going to school, it was a little more safer. It was a little more, the energy was different.
Yeah.
You feel me? These kids nowadays, they're seeing a lot of more internet.
Yeah.
Do you have a plan or anything that you could think of that be able to attack the violence with the youth?
Well, first and foremost, I think we have to find ways and create pathways that our children can affirm themselves outside of entertainment, outside of sports. I played football in college. I love sports. It's something that I have loved since I was a little kid. But I do think it's important that our kids start to see a variety of different pathways. It's okay to be a city council member. It's okay to be a state senator. It's okay to be a doctor. It's okay to be a lawyer. It's okay to sit in front of the classroom. It's okay to be mannerable. So that's something that that I think is very important.
Facts. And I think even when I was going to school, it wasn't cool. It wasn't cool to be in the front.
And I'm from the inner city just like you.
Yeah,
so I'm speaking from lived experiences. Like you said, it wasn't cool. Sometimes being black and being intelligent wasn't the way to go.
Yeah, exactly.
So I even see it today where I've seen in my educational career, I've seen kids purposely remove themselves from the classroom just so they can have attention brought to what they're doing, just so they can be affirmed. I'm not getting affirmed by being the smartest person in the class. So I'll be affirmed by being a behavioral problem in the class.
Exactly.
So it's important that we create pathways and our kids see that, hey, it's okay, as I've stated, to have a professional career outside of professional sports or entertainment.
Facts. And it takes leaders like yourself when you bring around the Grow Lit project.
Yes.
You feel me? Let's speak about that. What made that come into play? How long have you been doing it? Because it's very, very good work.
Yeah.
Basically, from what I know, is that you're giving out literature to minorities, people that don't have that privilege. Yeah,
so the Grow Lit Project is a nonprofit organization. The mission of it is to improve literacy levels in kids that derive from marginalized communities. So we, and it's a fairly new nonprofit. Okay. It's only been about 2 years. We have a Read to Lead program where we essentially want to help children build personal home libraries. You've probably seen some of the book drives that we've had. And the whole reasoning behind that is we wanted to increase access to print. I remember being a child growing up in the inner city, and my only getaway was reading.
Facts.
Like, it allowed me to cultivate pathways and use my imagination to see something outside of what I was experiencing.
Seeing every day.
That's important to me. I can tell you another experience that led up to the Grow Lit Project. I was working at a school, a few years ago, and Scholastic, which is one of the biggest book publishing companies in the country, they were hosting a book drive. And I remember seeing about 10, 11 kids who could not purchase books at this book drive because their parents did not put money on their Scholastic card. And at that moment, I saw the look on their faces. These children were very, very distraught. And at that moment, I said, hey, what can I do to be of value in my community? Okay. What can I do to ensure that kids in communities that currently grow up in communities that I grew up in have access to print? So that was kind of the reasoning behind the Grow Lit Project. Right now, we're working on a parent advocacy program where we bring parents in and we help them understand the importance of literacy, but help them also develop skills to help their children on their literacy journey. One thing that's very important, I'm a data guy. All my decisions,
data adds up.
Whenever I make a decision, I try to base it off of data. I can tell you right now, almost half of our kids in Palm Beach County, our third graders, are not reading at grade level. But what I can also say is a lot of our students aren't leaving pre-K or their early childhood establishment and transitioning into kindergarten with the right skill set. The state of Florida has something called the Florida Kindergarten Readiness Screener. And basically this assesses a student in kindergarten's basic arithmetic skills and literacy skills. So if children are coming into kindergarten without the requisite skills, then research says that children that start behind, stay behind. So if your child enters kindergarten and is not performing at grade level, there's a good chance that that child may never catch up. So that's why the work that we are currently striving to do with the Grow Lit Project is very, very important. Very important. Yes, we have school, but I want parents specifically from low socioeconomic backgrounds to understand that school doesn't start when your child enters kindergarten. School starts as soon as your child exits your womb. The clock has started.
Yeah, you gotta pour into them.
You have to pour into them early. Data says that almost 90% of the brain is formed, or brain development has taken place by age 5. So that's around the age that most kids are in kindergarten.
Yeah, facts.
So when you think about that and you think about how deep that is, if your child's education journey and literacy journey begins to take place when they enter kindergarten, you're already behind the 8 ball. Yes.
You're already behind. I like how you said that. I got a 5-year-old. He in kindergarten right now.
Exactly.
And I'm learning how to be able to read to him. And I'm feeling like I'm a little behind. Like, I got to catch up.
It's so important.
It's very important.
It's so important. Remember what I just said about brain development.
Yeah.
90% of the brain is developed. This is research. This isn't me talking. This is research. Has taken place by age 5.
So you got to get on that ball.
So from day one, you as a parent have to start asking questions. A lot of times our parents don't ask questions because they don't know the right questions to ask.
They don't even know where to start.
They don't know where to start. So I think it's very important that we have programs like the Grow Lit Project that are in inner city communities that aim to ensure that parents can assist their children on their literacy journeys.
And what made you want to get into that? Like, was it something that you saw? You know, you say you was growing up, being in the inner city. What was the switch?
I benefited from literacy. Like literally right now today, I can say that having strong literacy skills and my parents prioritizing education is what has allowed me to transition to new endeavors.
Right.
Like that's what got me to this point. My parents, it didn't matter what situation we found ourselves in, education was prioritized. But I was lucky. I won't say I was lucky, I was blessed. I had grandparents who understood the importance of education. I also had a mother, even though she was a teen mom, even though she had me at age 16, she still ensured that she played an integral role in my development as a student.
Shout out to moms. Moms might have to come on next for the interview, man.
She would gladly come on.
Because I think we overlook, just single moms raising men. And to see a person of yourself, like I told you.
So what I'll do is I'll set that up for you.
Yeah.
I'll set that up for you. Perfect. My mother, as I've stated, she was a teen mom. My mother, mom, if I'm telling too much of your business, I'm sorry. My mom had all 3 of her children before she was 19 years old. All 3.
And poured into all 3.
And poured into all 3. My mom, she set the standard for me, man. And I have to give her flowers because I would like to, I would like to sit here and make it seem as if it's all my doing, but it's not. It's so many people that poured into my life. It's my teachers, it's my friends, it's my neighbors. All these, I was raised by the village. I know you had an initiative. I know you had an initiative a few. Yeah. See, I watch you, bro.
You on beat. It takes a village.
I know you had an initiative. It takes a village, but that's who raised me. It wasn't. I had grandparents. My mom, and a village. And that's what it takes to help our children get to where they need to go.
Let's talk about that as a community, a village. How important is it a village? 'Cause I know for yourself, you're a father.
I am.
You're a son.
I am.
Politician. We're not going to call it politician. Man with all the tools. That's what we're going to call it. Man with all the tools.
There we go.
Man with all the tools. Being in that position, bro, it's hard, bro. Yeah. Honestly. You feel me? Taking on a lot of that burden, bro. How does your village benefit you?
As I've stated, it's everything to me. When I was a child and I found myself in some of the hardest situations, it was the village that I leaned on. When I was out of line, my teachers had a direct connection to my mom and my grandparents. So I couldn't budge when I was at school. When I was at the rec center, when I was at Wells Recreation Center, when I was at Tate's Gym.
Wells, yeah, that's what I grew up to
when
I
was at Tate's Gym, everyone was looking after me. And it was like, Leroy, don't get in trouble. I'm going to call your grandmother. I'm going to call your grandfather. Yeah. I'm going to call your mother. So that's the importance of the village. Our kids have to feel that they have guidance no matter where they go. Like, that's how you build a strong community.
That's important.
When I know that whether I'm at my rec center, whether I'm in school, whether I'm in my community, that I have to answer to someone, that's when we start to see better outcomes for our children.
And do you feel like we lack that now as a community?
I think we do. I think we do.
I agree.
But I don't want to put it all on the backs of our people.
It's not.
Some things are systemic, some things are structural, and we have to talk about the elephant in the room. So I think when we start to address the systemic and the structural systems that are in place, we can start to see better communities. And that's what really made me want to become a resident that engages civically, right? I started to understand the power of policy. I told you this camera.
Facts.
One of my mentors told me, he said, your philanthropic efforts will never trump bad policy. You can have as many book drives as you want. You can have as many food drives as you want. But until you engage civically, you won't start to see the long-term change that you need to see.
You need to see, and then now that we into this different phase, I see a lot of people get panicked. Don't panic, relax. You got the man, they got the answers for you. What's some things that we need to pay attention to now that we into a new presidential race, things in our state? What's some things that you feel like we need to pay attention to as a culture?
First and foremost, before we get all the way up to the federal level and talk about the presidential election, let's start at the local level. First and foremost, we need to vote. That's the bare minimum. At the bare minimum, we need to vote. I told you this a long time ago. I said, when you do not vote, you are telling your legislators that they do not have to prioritize your concerns.
Yeah.
When you do not vote, when you say I'm not going to vote or you don't interact with it, they don't have to prioritize you.
Yeah.
So
you don't have no voice. You
don't have a voice first. So that's the first thing you need to do. You need to vote. Secondly, you need to really research your legislators at every level. You need to know what their priorities are. You need to know what they've done in their political career. It's very important.
Facts.
Because that will start to dictate who you support. For me, I want to put this out there. I don't come from a political family.
Yeah. You definitely told me that.
I don't come from a political family. I understand that politics can be very nuanced. I learned that during my first run for city council. It can be very nuanced. But I promise you that when you take the effort to be involved and to civically engage with the process, you'll start to learn things as you go. I'm still learning a lot, but I can tell you, in terms of on a local level, you need to know who your school board members are. I know my school board member is Edwin Ferguson. I know what his initiatives are. I know what he prioritizes. My Palm Beach County Commissioner is Bobby Powell Jr. I've researched who he is and who he's been in terms of his professional legislative career. My state house representative, that's Javante Edmonds. I can tell you, he's also my line brother, so I'll put that out there. But I can tell you what his priorities are. Our Florida State Senator, Senator Mac Bernard, he was previously our county commissioner. So basically, him and Bobby Powell Jr. swapped seats. So Bobby Powell Jr. was in the Florida Senate, and now he's a county commissioner. Mac Bernard was a county commissioner. Now he's a Florida senator.
Things that y'all wouldn't even know.
We need to know that at the federal level. Before you even get to your president, you have a U.S. congressperson. I know that my U.S. congressperson is Sheila Sherflis McCormick, right? So we need to truly understand who these people are at every level. And I mean this wholeheartedly, it truly starts at the local level. When you go outside your house, the sidewalks that you walk on, that takes place at the local level. If you own a house, the property taxes or the amount of property taxes that you pay on that house, that formula is formulated at the local level. The educational experience that your children receive. If your child is a student in the school district of Palm Beach County, that starts at the local level.
Things we need to know.
You have school board members. Yeah. Exactly. So, and also, I want to add this as well. When you vote, when you look at your ballot, whether it's a municipal race or a presidential race, sometimes it's not just candidates that are on your ballot. Mm-hmm. You have amendments. Our last presidential election, you had Amendment 3, the legalization of marijuana. Mm-hmm. Amendment 4.
Make sure I vote.
Amendment 4. Amendment 4, the right to an abortion initiative.
Facts.
Right? You have, on a local level, at times you have referendums that are on your ballot. So being informed, one of my mentors told me this a long time ago. He said it's costly to be uninformed. Yeah. It's costly.
It could cost you your life and your kids' life and your generation's life.
I'll tell you this. In 1967, President Ronald Reagan said something very important during his inaugural address. He said, freedom must be fought for. It's not passed in the bloodstream. It must be fought for from one generation to the next.
I like that.
That's important. So
especially in our community.
So you think about right now, the stance that you take is going to impact your kids, their kids, and their kids. So I'm not telling you which stand to take. I'm not telling you who to support. You support whoever aligns with your political ideologies. But what I am saying is you have to get in the game and you have to get off the sideline and you have to take a stance.
And what's some ways that we can help as a community? If it's throwing events, networking events, political events, what do you think that we can do as a community?
Well, in our community, I think we have various civic groups. So, for example, I'll just name off some of the ones that I'm a part of.
People need it.
The Urban League Young Professionals. That's a group. That's a civic group.
Shout out to them.
For professionals 40 years old and younger. Tap into these groups. I'm a part of another group in the northern part of the county, the Palm Beach North Chamber Young Professional Group.
I've seen that too.
The NAACP now has reactivated their West Palm Beach branch. If that's something that aligns with your social or political or racial viewpoints. So civically, there are ways for us to get involved. I just think we have to utilize them. There are things that you can do on your own. I don't think it's ever a bad thing to host an event and talk about these things. Anytime you host an event, I don't mind coming and giving my
That's what I'm going to.
I don't mind coming and giving my viewpoint on what is going on in our community. I don't know everything, but I do try to go find the answers. That's one thing I prioritize myself on.
That's what I salute you for
You
sure.
may ask me a question and I may not have an answer for you, but I can almost promise you that I'm going to find the answer. I'm going to come back with some type of solution, and I've always prided myself on that.
And when you did do the race for District 2, because, bro, his message is deep, because I feel like you relate to so many types of life of people, inner city, outer city. Like you told me, you're not ashamed to speak properly.
Yeah.
You're not ashamed to wear your suit. You're not ashamed to be the man that you are.
No.
Because of where you come from.
Exactly.
So with that being said, I feel like District 2.
So first,
you got my vote.
So let me say this. You're referring to the municipal election that I was a part of in 2024.
Can you explain the difference between, you said municipal?
So in Palm Beach County, you have municipalities.
Okay.
That's local. So Riviera Beach would be a municipality. West Palm Beach would be a municipality. You have city council members that set policy for the city. You have a mayor. So that's part of educating ourselves on what's happening locally. We need to know who these people are.
Facts. And then you said when District 2 came around, that was last year, right?
That was in 2024. So
2024.
I've never really talked about this.
I know. I was trying to get at it.
I know where you're getting at. I've never talked about this experience publicly. I've shared it with my close friends and family, but I've never talked about it publicly. So I'll break news on here and just kind of let some of your viewers in on what that experience was like. So first, let me say this. Municipal elections are very, very short, tight windows, about 4 months. So the qualifying period took place in November. The election day, I believe, was, I don't remember the exact day. It may have been March 17th. I don't remember, but it's a 4-month window. I went to qualify to run as a city council member, and due to some issues at the clerk's office, I was never initially put on the ballot as a qualified candidate. My name was never given to the supervisor of elections office initially. So I had to go through a 2-month legal process to get back on the ballot to even have an opportunity to run as a city council member.
In that 6-month span. In 4 months.
So the process is 4 months. I lost 2 months.
Yeah.
So when I was back on the when I was listed as a qualified candidate, it was late December, early January. So we essentially had a little over 60 days to run a campaign.
And push your narrative.
And push my narrative. So it was a very, very tight window. I also want to give a shout out to my lawyer, Diedrich Strawn. Yes, he was the person that fought for me in court. He was the individual that ensured that my name was back on the ballot so that I could even have an opportunity to represent the city of Riviera Beach.
Love that.
We ended up coming up a little short, 200 votes short.
That's amazing.
200 votes short, and we were up against a lot. By the time I was back listed as a qualified candidate, as I stated before, we were a little over 60, 70 days away from election day. I was up against an incumbent who had been in office for 9 years. So for you all that don't know, usually incumbents are pretty tough to beat. They're pretty tough to beat because
breaking that down
they've already generated the support. They have the name recognition. There's a plethora of reasons why overcoming that challenge and defeating an incumbent is very, very difficult.
Facts.
So I was very, very proud of our campaign team from top to bottom.
The city very proud of you, bro.
I was so proud of our campaign team. We worked very hard every single day. We were at it, whether it was phone banking, whether it was canvassing, whether it was setting up speaking engagements so I could interact with people in the community. But I tell you, man, it was one of the best experiences of my life to grow up in a community and come back to that community and see the same faces who played a big role in who you are today. It's hard to even describe it. It's so many people that helped me, you know, family, friends, teachers, just neighbors, people in the community.
A village.
And it's so many people that played a role in my life that I can't pay them back. So the only thing that I thought I could do was pay it forward. I can pay it forward by coming back to my community and finding ways to be of value, finding ways to do what I've always done and try to improve the quality of life of the person next to me. That's what I've always done. And at that time, there was a huge initiative about to break.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that. What was one of the main initiatives that you was trying to push during that campaign, or things that you wanted to make people aware of?
So when my campaign began to take off, there was a huge water scandal about to break. Fecal matter was found in the water, and I think we can all agree that clean water is a basic need that
everybody needs.
All people deserve to have.
Animals, everybody.
I started to hear little bits of information as to what took place, and not only was there fecal matter in the water, residents were not notified in a timely manner. So the first thing that went through my head was, we're talking about government, people that are supposed to ensure the safety and well-being of their constituents, and our residents are not even notified in a timely manner. So the big initiative that I ran on, first and foremost, was transparency. If you can't be transparent and you can't be truthful with your residents, I think everything else will fall on deaf ears.
Facts.
Right?
Yeah.
So that was the one initiative that I kind of tried to nail down. One thing I don't have all the answers, as I've stated, but I'll work to find solutions. And one thing that I always prided myself on is being a high character person.
Yeah, I can contest for that.
Being a high character person. You're gonna get that from me no matter what.
24/7.
You're gonna get, I have morals, principles, as I stated earlier in the show. My grandfather, U.S. Navy veteran. So you can imagine what my household was like growing up as a child. So first and foremost, you be truthful with people. You be honest with people, even when it hurts. And that's something that I've always prided myself on.
Think you can see yourself running again?
Man, I knew that question. I knew that question was coming. I'll tell you right now, I can't say if I'll run again. But I will say that I try to allow God to order my steps.
I love that.
I'm enjoying the learning process right now. I'm having the opportunity to sit on various boards. Right now, I sit on the Fair Housing and Equal Employment Board of Palm Beach County, Riviera Beach Housing Authority.
Damn.
I told you about some of the different civic groups I'm a part of,
Facts.
Whether it's the Urban League Young Professionals, or whether it's Palm Beach North Chamber, or whether it's groups like the NAACP. So I'm enjoying learning the process. I'm enjoying learning how I can be of value to a community. So it's hard for me to say if I'll ever run again, but what I will say, I'll say two things. The first thing I'll say is, if the opportunity ever presents itself again, I'll be ready.
I love that.
And then secondly, if I decide to run again, I'll be sure to come back on this show and announce it.
Y'all heard it first. And this is why I love this dude, bro, because he understands the importance of community. Like, that's our whole goal. We trying to reach a community. Like, I'm trying to learn as much about politician and politician work. Not just the politician work, the laws, the voting times, the time frames, the times that we need to vote. So the message that he can share with me, I can share with y'all.
And what's so important, I just want to piggyback off what you said. The information is readily accessible. We have iPhones, we have computers, laptops.
Gotta look for it.
It's accessible. But you have to know what you're looking for. And I think sometimes the breakdown in communication, or why people don't, is two reasons, in my opinion, why people don't go look for this information. Firstly, sometimes the message is right, but the messenger isn't correct. I'm gonna say that again. Sometimes the message is correct, but the messenger is not
what you think.
Who or what you think. And I think that's very important. So, as I stated, the information is there. At the bare minimum, we need to be voting. But then to take it to the next level, we need to understand government at every level. And we need to start with a bottom-up approach. I think a lot of times we start with the bottom approach. We're just going to pay attention to the presidential election. You need to pay attention to your municipal elections. You need to pay attention to who your constitutional officers are. You need to pay attention to who, as I've stated earlier in the show, you need to know who your state representative is. You need to know who your U.S. congressman is. You need to know who your state senator is. You need to know who your city council members are. You need to know who your school board member is.
Facts.
So it's so important. And I believe when we start to understand those things, we'll start to have better communities.
Yeah.
And I know I don't want to keep repeating the same thing over and over, but as I said, when you don't show up and cast your vote, when you don't show up at the ballot box, you are literally sending a message to whoever your legislator is. You're telling your legislator that you do not have to prioritize my concerns. But I also have sympathy as well. I understand when people are in a rat race and they're taking care of children, they're trying to find ways to make more money, that sometimes we can lose sight of the long-term reasons for why we should be doing something in the short term. It's easy to lose sight of that.
Yeah, I like that.
So I'm not one of those people where I'm going to say, oh, I'm not going to condemn you because you're not doing what you should be doing. I'm going to first try to sympathize with you. But after I sympathize with you, I'm going to tell you that it's time to get to work and it's time to do what we need to do to ensure that we have better communities, which is what I think everyone wants.
Facts. And I think as a city, you feel me, that we should all want it, like you said, because end of the day, this is where our kids live, this is where we live, our parents live.
Exactly.
We're at that age where we have our parents getting older and our kids getting older at the same time.
And to feed off of that, I read a study and it was so interesting to me. It said millennials, which we are all millennials. Millennials, not all your listeners are millennials, but everyone in the room is a millennial. Millennials will be the first generation to leave here financially poorer than the generation before them. Think about that.
Yeah, because
millennials will be the first generation. We're on track to be the first generation to leave here financially poorer than the generation before us. So this is why I continue to stress the importance of showing up politically. I'm not the person to tell you how you should show up. I'm not going to tell you that. But I want to ensure that people show up. Make sure that you have political ideologies. You have to have it.
Yeah, you do.
Make sure that you understand the issues. Make sure you understand who the people are that are tasked with representing you. And I think when you do that, now you can make an informed decision.
Yeah.
And your informed decision may look very different from my informed decision. And that's one of the nuances. That's one of the nuances of politics that I learned and that I'm still learning, is that your political ideologies can be different from mine. But that doesn't take away from my need to treat you as a human. I don't have to curse you. I don't have to call you all the names in the book because you don't agree with what I agree with. But we have to show up.
Yeah, that's the key. Showing up, man.
You have to show up. However you show up, but you have to show up.
And I think on this show, what I can do, you feel me, just on my part, is when those dates are coming up,
Yeah.
Well, people need to vote and people need to tap in. We can share that.
At any moment.
Yeah.
Any moment that you
Sure.
ask, if I'll clear my schedule, I'll get the information. I know the supervisor of elections office, they have a lot of good information. They can tell you about all the local races.
I love that.
State races.
I see you definitely need that.
And federal races that are taking place. They can tell you all the important dates, because there are a plethora of dates. For example, in a lot of elections, you have dates when vote by mail ballots drop.
Yeah.
Where you can vote by mail. There's legislation that was passed recently where you have to update your vote by mail registration every single year.
And people don't even know that.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. I didn't even know that.
You have to update. If you are registered to vote by mail, there is a deadline that you have to register to reactivate your vote by mail subscription, basically. So that's very important.
Yeah, we gotta pay attention.
So people who are accustomed to receiving their ballots in the mail, if you don't go re-register,
it don't even matter.
You will not receive your ballot in the mail. So it's small things like that we have to be alert about and pay close attention to.
I agree.
Is that different per election, or is that like a set date that like everybody can know? Like, this is the new date that you gotta re-register on a yearly basis? I
believe that's a good question. I'll have to check on that.
Facts.
It may change every year, but what I will say is whatever the date is, the supervisor of elections office will push it out way ahead of time.
Way beforehand.
So I can't say confidently that it's the same every single year, but I do know that the supervisor of elections office will push that date out. It'll tell you when vote by mail ballots should be in your mailbox. It'll tell you when early voting takes place, if early voting is taking place during a municipal race, or state race or federal race. It'll tell you when the last day to vote is. So all that information is information that we must have if you want to truly engage civically.
And make a change. Make a change. That's the biggest thing about this interview. We want to make a change. And speaking to him,
definitely,
from the Grow Lit project to the things that he did and the narratives that he want to push and that he's still going to continue to push.
Yeah.
It's just bigger than us. And that's what we need to understand.
And there's so many things that's going on. As I stated earlier, we cannot afford, when I say we, I mean everyone.
Everyone.
We cannot afford to be asleep at the wheel. There's so much going on in our country, racially, socially, politically. We can't afford to be uninformed. This is something that I know that will impact a lot of your viewers. Last year, a bill was passed basically saying that students in Florida need more sleep. So they passed the bill. So now, and basically what the bill said was middle schools shouldn't start after 8 o'clock a.m. High schools shouldn't start after 8:30 a.m. So as a parent, that may affect you in a plethora of ways.
Big time.
If you have a job and you have to be to work at 7:30 a.m. and you have a middle school student or a high school student, it could impact you. Yeah. And I don't know how middle schools and high schools work. There may be some type of early care program.
Facts.
Not sure.
It could.
So I don't want to rule that out. That could take place. But it's important that we understand legislation, and that's at the state level. That happened at the state level, and it filters down to the local communities, to the school district. So the school district of Palm Beach County, they've been pushing out different start times and trying to give parents a opportunity to have a say in the process, because this is something that's going to affect everyone. And I want to be clear about it. This is not slated to take place until August of 2026. That's when this is slated to take place. So what you'll see is during this year's state legislative session, which starts on March 4th, this is where your House of Representatives will be and your senators will be debating and enacting laws.
Okay.
This starts on March 4th. You'll see a lot of people from different school districts or lobbying on behalf of different school districts to try to see if they can change the verbiage in that bill, because this is something, like I said, that's coming in August 2026, and it is going to have a tremendous impact on families. Yeah. And it could have it on students. So
I think it will.
It's just something that we need to understand. I'm not here. I haven't done enough research on it to say if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's all subjective. It depends which side of the aisle you stand on.
I like that.
on if it benefits you,
benefits
right?
you, yeah.
A lot of these things, that's the interesting thing sometimes about politics. It's subjective.
Yeah.
Right?
It's for you or not?
It's something, I have morals and I have principles. And certain things align with my morals and my principles, and certain things go against my morals and my principles. Then you'll have another individual that has a set of morals and principles, and something may benefit them and be aligned with their morals and their principles and be totally against mine.
Yeah.
So that's what I meant when I said politics is so nuanced.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
It's so nuanced.
And people have to realize that there's nothing wrong with that, because we create a division between that.
Exactly. And what I've tried to do, you have things that are partisan issues, right? Things that, if you're a Republican, may be a set of principles that you live by. If you're a Democrat, there may be another set of principles that you live by. You also have independents, people who don't really belong to a party. What I've tried to do is find nonpartisan issues. Or not nonpartisan issues, I'm sorry, bipartisan issues. Like for me, early learning, literacy, that's bipartisan.
Yeah, that's everybody.
Whether you're a Republican, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're an independent, I think we can all agree that we need to ensure that our students are reading on grade level by grade 3. We need to ensure that our students are entering kindergarten and have the requisite skill set that they need to be ready for kindergarten, right? Because I said it earlier. I re-emphasize things because I want it to be ingrained in our minds.
Ingrained in the mind.
Children that start behind, stay behind.
Stay behind.
When you enter school and you don't have the basic skills that you need to be on grade level in kindergarten or first grade or second grade, when you get to third grade, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
You're going to still be behind. So what I've tried to do is try to champion initiatives that focus on prevention, not intervention.
I love that.
Right? Prevention. So for me, early literacy, early childhood education, all those things are things that I see as prevention. These are preventative measures that we need to take. It's like a doctor.
Yeah, facts. Before the problem get bad.
When your doctor, most times when your doctor spots the issue, we're talking about intervention. There's a series of things that took place that could be your fault or not.
Facts.
That led to him being able to spot that there's an issue in or within your body.
Facts.
Right? So I think I try to wear that same hat in education. It's like, how can I be of value? But also, how can we start to champion prevention? And that's why it's important that our parents have the skill set that they need to be players in their child's educational journey.
Because that's very important.
Yes.
And this is the man with the plan. Y'all ain't know now, y'all know. Because one, like I said before, bro, just your passion, be able to see the next man grow. You never had no problem giving game. You never had no problem giving information. So that's going to take you a long way, bro. So from the CYON family to Mr. Leroy Kelson, want to give your flowers, my man.
I appreciate
You're
it, man.
doing great work in the community. Anything you want to let the people know before we sign out?
I'll leave everyone with this. First, I truly just want to thank everyone that has supported me since I was a child. I know a lot of my friends and family may view this, so thank you so much. I do want to leave you all with a quote that came from James Baldwin. He said, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." So it's important that we continue to show up in our communities. It's important that we are civically engaged. And I think when we do that, we'll start to see the fruits of our labor. Thank y'all. I love y'all.
Shout out, man. Make sure y'all show up. And when he run for president, you got my vote. We out, man.